She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't well known. She didn't have a fancy house or a big car. But what Margaret had was something far more powerful, a heart so large it could carry the pain and hope of 5 broken children the world had forgotten. Margaret lived in a quiet neighborhood in Lagos, Nigeria. She was a librarian by profession. She loved classical music, collected old cookbooks, and drank peppermint tea every evening at 6. She had never married. She had no children of her own. People assumed she had chosen the single life, but the truth was, she had always wanted to be a mother. The years went by. Friends got married, had children, became grandparents, while Margaret filled her shelves with books and her heart with silence. But deep inside, she longed for a family. At 43, Margaret began volunteering at a nearby foster care center. She didn't know why. She just felt drawn. She would read to the children every Friday after work. At first, she thought she was just helping out. But one evening, something changed. She met 5 children, 5 wounded hearts, each of them labeled unadoptable. There was John, a quiet 9-year-old who never made eye contact. He drew pictures of houses he had never lived in, families he never knew. Then came Ella, 7 years old, born with a heart defect and left behind in a hospital by a mother who never returned. Next was Mike, 6 years old, labeled aggressive by everyone. But no one knew he was nearly deaf in one ear. He didn't hate people. He just couldn't hear them. And then the twins, Bella and Ben, 4 years old, survivors of a house fire that had taken their parents. Bella bore visible scars on her arms and back. Ben had not spoken a single word since the fire. Everyone else had said no. Too many issues. Too much trauma. Too risky. But Margaret, she looked at them and didn't see problems. She saw purpose in a decision that shocked the local social services department. Margaret applied to adopt all 5. You're a single woman. You have a modest income. You don't even have a car big enough. They warned her. But her reply was simple. They deserve someone who won't give up on them. And just like that, her life changed forever. The early months were overwhelming. The house that had once been silent was now full of noise. Confusion, crying, chaos. John didn't speak to anyone. Ella's heart required constant monitoring. Mike had fits of frustration. Bella would scream in her sleep, and Ben, still completely silent, would hide behind furniture for hours. Margaret had no idea what she was doing. She read every parenting book, consulted therapists, cried in the laundry room, and still, every night, she tucked them in and said, "You are safe. You are wanted. You are mine." Then slowly, very slowly, miracles began to happen. John began drawing more than houses. He started drawing people. A woman that looked like Margaret. And one day he spoke. "Mom," he whispered. Ella got her first heart surgery. Margaret used her savings, every last dime. Ella recovered and began running in the backyard. Mike got fitted with a hearing aid. He started to laugh, to dance, to sing along to music, off-key but proudly. Bella began writing poems. Poems about fire, about fear, about hope. She left them on the fridge for Margaret to read. And Ben, one quiet morning, walked up to Margaret, tapped her hand, and said, "Hi, Mom." His first words in nearly 3 years. Raising teenagers wasn't easy either. John got into a fight at school. Ella had complications and needed another surgery. Mike struggled with grades and was often misunderstood. Bella was bullied for her scars. Ben became overly protective of everyone, afraid to lose anyone again. But through every storm, Margaret stood strong. She became their anchor. She taught them how to fight with kindness, how to lead with compassion, how to fail and rise again. They never had much money, but every birthday was celebrated, every graduation cheered, every mistake forgiven. Margaret gave them everything she had. And when that wasn't enough, she gave them more. And then, one by one, they left home. John got a scholarship in architecture. Ella enrolled in medical school. Mike became a youth music mentor. Bella got a publishing deal. And Ben, who once didn't speak, started speaking in schools about trauma and healing. Margaret's house became quiet again. The walls that once echoed with footsteps now held memories. She missed them, but she knew they were soaring. Then, on her 63rd birthday, a knock on the door. Margaret opened it and gasped. All five stood there, grown, smiling. Behind them, a black van. Camera crew. People she didn't recognize. "Mom, we have a surprise for you," John said. They took her to the local community center. The hall was decorated. Dozens of faces she hadn't seen in years. Former teachers, doctors, neighbors, friends from church. On the stage was a banner honoring Margaret Ellis, the mother who chose us. Each of her children took the stage. John shared how Margaret's belief in him led to him designing a dozen foster homes across Georgia. Ella talked about saving lives daily as a heart surgeon and how it was possible only because someone had once saved hers. Mike shared how he teaches kids with hearing impairments through music. Bella read a poem that made the entire hall cry. And Ben, now a national youth speaker, closed the tribute with a simple truth. She didn't save perfect kids. She made us feel perfect until we believed it ourselves. Then came the final surprise. Together, the five had raised $400,000 to start the Margaret Foundation, a foundation in Margaret's name, dedicated to providing scholarships, mentorship, and housing support to kids aging out of the foster system. The same kind of kids everyone else forgets. The kind Margaret never did. Tears ran down her face. Her hands trembled, but her heart, it was full. She didn't have to, but she chose to. 5 lives, forever changed. And 20 years later, they came back to change the world in her name. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous, but she was a mother. The kind who doesn't just raise children, but raises legacies.